What can I do for you?
Oh, little song, little dance, Batman's head on a lance. Tell me, what do you know about...
I don't know anything about Batman.
Really? Well, how about a little you and me?
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's time to talk all things Batman. We had a pretty damn big week. Got a couple new series, got some Fear State to talk about, the best ongoing Batman-related comic to talk about. Here to talk to me about that is the man from popbyculture.com, as well as contributor to batmannews.com. How you doing, Josh McDonald?
I'm doing well, man. I think the comic book gods have blessed us. I'm in the middle of a ton of storms right now, and it just kind of like settled down right as we went to record. So it was like awesome. So hopefully it'll stay this way for the next like 20, 25 minutes.
And the comics weren't anything like last week. They're much better.
Oh, dude. I you know what? I sat down and I read stuff, and after I read the four in particular that we're going to cover, I was like, thank God, Wes is going to be so excited. This is so much better than last week.
Yeah, it was a far greater Batman reading experience this week. And of course, about 15 minutes after we're done recording this, there'll be some major Batman news drop, and we're like, wow.
Damn, we missed it. I know, yeah. Right?
And I'll have to cover it on my own. Before we continue on with This Week in Batman with my good friend Josh McDonald, I wanted to talk about my good friends over at Comics Elite. They have 3 variant covers, store exclusives to talk about this week from Knighted #1 from writer Greg Hurwitz, artist Mark Teixeira, and color artist Brian Reber. These are Dark Knight Returns book #2 homage covers from Mark Teixeira himself. Cover A with the trade dress is limited to 600 prints. Cover B, the color version cover, is limited to 400, and then cover C, the black and white version cover, is limited to 100. So if you're interested in these, you're a fan of Batman, and I imagine you are if you're watching this channel, we've got some Dark Knight Returns Book 2 homage covers for Knighted #1 from AWA Studios. And you go to Comics Elite. The information is in the video description. Go check it out, and maybe go buy a couple of these covers. They are not going to last very long. These are very limited editions, so head on over there. Now let's get Josh back on the channel and talk about This Week in Batman. We got to talk about this Batman Long Halloween special. This is the one that I was really looking for, and I'm a huge fan of the Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale classic, as well as Dark Victory, the sequel. Really, really cool art. You know, is it as good as the Long Halloween? No, but it certainly feels like it's of the Long Halloween. The art looks like it fits right in. The storytelling fits right in. Yep. And I quite enjoyed it as just like a little break from the regular Batman line to go back to something I really enjoyed.
Agreed. Yeah, I think I had some of the same reservations as you when it was announced. Like I was excited for it, but there was a large part of me that was concerned that it was going to feel so forced and just half-assed. So when I started reading it, I felt an immediate relief, probably like 10 pages in, that it felt very natural. It felt like a relatively consistent continuation of that story. And it was pretty intriguing. So, hey, I'm completely on board. I would say it was my favorite book of the week, and we can dig into some details real quick.
Absolutely. There's some cool things going on here. Obviously, it's about the relationship really between Gordon, Dent, and Batman. Yep. And at this point, we've got two faces in the fold. We get to also get more Robin in this one, which I kind of like. Add a little bit of levity to the story. But really, the villain in here is Calendar Man, because they're upset that the Holiday Killer kind of overshadowed them, and they're trying to take back what's theirs, I guess. We don't get enough Calendar Man, so I dug it.
Yeah, agreed. And, you know, every time we mention Calendar Man, typically we cite the Long Halloween as being the best interpretation of him. So kind of seeing him let this like idea of the Holiday Killer, you know, stealing his thunder fester in him to the point that he's just going to lose it. I'm on board with. And the way he like his actual plan and what he's doing is pretty intriguing as well, because he is committing crimes on holidays. He's kind of sticking to a shtick, but he's targeting Two-Face. So it creates an interesting dynamic where you have two villains pretty much going for each other. And then you've got Batman kind of jumping in the middle. And then, yes, Robin is included in this, which was a nice little bit. And then Gilda returns. So there's a lot of elements falling into place that are great. I'm pretty intrigued as a reader, and I can't wait to see what happens. And we do get some really fun moments between, fun and intriguing moments between Gordon, both from his stance with Batman and operating, and how that trio first started with Dent, Gordon, and Bruce as Batman to protect the city, and just how the dynamic has shifted. But they're still having to rely on Harvey a little bit to help them. And the fun aspect comes into Dick and Babs. So I enjoyed that. I thought it was a nice little, like, wink, wink.
Yeah, it was a cool little subplot going on there. The thing with Gilda, I think, is interesting because it's certainly it's part of one of the cliffhangers of one of the stories. It's hinted at that maybe Gilda was the holiday killer.
Yeah, I felt like it laid it pretty clear that she was a holiday killer at one point, because I think it was divided up that Harvey had actually killed some people and Gilda had killed some people, and then someone else had killed some people, and it was one of the I can't remember the name of one of the Falcones, but
the daughter, right?
Yes, I believe so.
She was paralyzed.
Yeah. So yeah, there to me, based on how those stories between The Long Halloween and Dark Victory played out, there's so many different elements here that are coming into play that this feels like I said, a natural progression, but also just a build upon that. And if they can take as much care as they did setting up this first issue, I'm going to be excited to read what comes next.
There's only one panel that I really didn't like. It's
Which
where Batman, I guess, is dressed up as Two-Face, and he pulls off the face, and he's got like the ears. Like, how does that work?
I was like, man, are those
horns?
ears floppy? Do they have little springs that he pulls the mask off and like bing?
Otherwise, it was really good, and certainly it seems to set up something. So I do not think this is a one and done special. I think this is the beginning of a further exploration of Calendar Man, Two-Face, and the relationship between Gordon and Batman. Agreed. And hopefully the relationship between Batgirl and Robin, because that was like a cool little subplot that I hope they do a little bit something with in the future. And
they're teasing a mystery of something that wasn't revealed in the previous books that Batman keeps referring to as something that I know now. And that's kind of, it looks like the mystery that they're setting up, but whatever that is will come into play later as well. So I'm crossing my fingers for the best, but I thought this was a great start, and I'm here for the long call.
Absolutely. I'll give this it's like a 4.5 star. Highly recommend. It's right there. Not the greatest long Halloween story ever, but absolutely fantastic. If you like the story, I think you're going to enjoy this installment.
Oh, agreed. Much better than what we've been getting lately. So I'll take it.
All right, let's get into the one. Unfortunately, I just did not have time to get to this. I was taking care of some other things, and I didn't have time to read Batman Fortnite, the latest installment of this marketing campaign between DC Comics and Fortnite. You get skins for in-game play. I'm not a Fortnite player. I don't believe you are as well. But you also get a little Batman story within the Fortnite universe. I really liked issue 3 that they did last time when we got to see Snake Eyes. I thought the whole thing got a bit convoluted over time. Not being a Fortnite player, I think it always felt like I was missing something. Mm-hmm. That I needed to know as far as maybe the game mechanics on how all this is working. Now this brings in Scott Snyder, superstar writer for DC Comics, who's not really doing anything else with DC right now, along with Christos Gage, and I believe one of the game designers or something is also a writer there. I didn't get to read it. What were your thoughts? Is this a good installment?
It was all right. It kind of fell back into convoluted a little bit. So for me, I'm like you. I don't play the game, so I constantly felt like I was missing something, and I still feel that to a degree here. But basically, you've had another 0 point open. This one's in Metropolis instead of Gotham. You've got the Batman Who Laughs that has come into play because we haven't had enough of him, but at least he's not like omnipotent Batman Who Laughs. He's just regular Batman Who Laughs. So hallelujah for that. But yeah, he's working with Luthor. There's another one that's opened. Batman is trying to get it closed. You have, I believe his name is the Foundation from Fortnite, which is kind of like the Dark Knight of Fortnite. But he's also trying to get it closed. And at first there's an opposition between him and Batman. And then they realize their goal is the same. But where you get to this exposition heavy thing is there's like pages and pages and pages of them talking about this 0 point hole. And it's not actually a 0 point. It's a different kind of opening, because the Foundation, when they opened the 0 point in Gotham, sealed it with the tower. And then Batman's like, well, I broke through that. And he's like, well, to go in, you have to go inside. It was just this weird Scott Snyder.
Sounds like Scott Snyder wrote it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, cool, man. Like all right, I guess I'll go along for the ride. Just go there. And then things kind of picked up towards the end because it looked like the team was going to be successful. And I will admit, like I completely blanked on the Batman Who Laughs, but he kind of glamours himself to look like Batman. So the Foundation scoops him up so they can close this 0 point hole. And as he's going to kind of take care of it, the Batman Who Laughs reveals that he's not actually Batman, but he's still Bruce Wayne. So the DNA trackers and everything said it was Bruce, but it's not the Bruce we want. And that led to some interesting stuff. But
I saw that exact same plot point within the Batman Who Laughs miniseries by Scott Snyder.
Yeah, he's kind of he's kind of rehashing some ground, but I think by the point they did it, I was so over reading exposition that I was like, just please, like I don't care about this. So when it happened, I was like, oh shit, yeah, all right, cool. But yeah, I will say it was interesting seeing a character as darkly depicted as the Batman Who Laughs in the Fortnite world, killing a guy with a tomato face.
Right.
So
you got something out of it.
Yeah, sure. Will I be reading the next few issues? Yeah. Am I going to look forward to them? No. Again, I feel like I'm missing stuff from it because I'm not a Fortnite player, but I do suspect that people will read it and enjoy it. And if you play the game, there's going to be so many Easter eggs or understanding of characters in that world that I don't have that you may enjoy it. But I think regardless, and I'll say this same thing I said about the last one is it's bringing in new people, whether they, if they're already going to buy it, to get a skin, they're probably going to flip through it anyways. And if it creates an interest for comics, I'm all for it.
Yep. And I guess the big skin obviously is the Batman Who Laughs. Well, I think will probably look fantastic in a video game and look quite ominous. And everyone want to play as that character. So it should sell out and do very, very well. So congratulations to DC Comics. Another likely very successful arm of marketing with this Batman Fortnite crossover.
Agreed.
Are you recommending it?
I'll say this: if you play Fortnite, go pick it up. Why not? If you don't,
get your skins. It's only $5
for sure. You're getting something worthwhile.
Yeah. So let's get into Fear State. We're having more issues that we've talked about in the past. This is obviously Detective Comics this week. Mariko Tamaki writing, Dan Mora on art.
Yeah,
book looks fantastic. I'm especially liking the character Nero. And the way his hair and stuff are depicted, it really pops out on the page, makes the character really vibrant. Obviously, when you have Batwoman show up, the same thing kind of happens with that character.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with this, and I don't. This isn't a bad comic book, but you think about, you've got Nakano, you got Batman, they're stuck underneath the city. And you're like, well, if they don't make it out, it must be because it's just a subplot that they mentioned that they're still under there for maybe in 3 different pages, so that they can continue the story in the next issue while they, cover some other stuff. But it's just them stuck beneath the city for almost the entire issue, and the subplots are the Nero stuff.
Yeah.
You can only make it so exciting as they're stuck there trying to talk between a wall.
Agreed. They tried to build some tension with Vile and his eggs that are there and hatching. But I think you're completely right. You can only build so much tension. There was some excitement involving Nero and Kate, and it was nice to see Kate. I do have a problem with that scene that I'll bring up in a second.
So do I.
It's going to be very similar in dealing with masks, just like the other problem. But yeah, like I'm with you. There's a part of me though that I'm so sick of Fear State that the moment the Vile storyline started getting reintroduced and kind of made prominent here, it excited me because I'd much rather return to that than deal with Fear State, even though we're still going to deal with Fear State. But yeah, it's same thing. It's just like they need to be clear on when things are taking place within Fear State. It feels like this is before what's going on in Batman, but
yes, because Barbara Gordon, Oracle, is supposed to be out looking for the Seer.
Yeah.
Yet but she's in the desk talking to Batman.
Yet she's in her Batgirl outfit. So it's so weird.
And Kate Kane is also supposed to be looking for the Seer as well. Why did they go to the city hall to talk to Nakano?
Who freaking knows, man? Like, who knows?
the coordination.
Oh yeah. I will say the Batwoman scene was badass. It was a really big, nice action scene that we got for this issue. My problem with it was she pops into the mayor's office as Kate Kane, and kind of does this whole like, oh, so I'm looking for the mayor, and then it looks like, because the moment I saw her, I was like, is that Kate? And then it turns out, yeah. So in the middle of her putting on this act of like, oh, I was looking for the mayor, she like punches a guy and then pulls her mask on. And I'm like, everyone just saw who you are. Like, what? So I don't know, man. Like,
doing it all wrong. There's another page in here, which I think I'll kind of blame this one, I think, on Dan Mora, where they're talking between the two walls. You got Bruce Wayne, you got Nakano, they're talking. Yeah. And then it's like kind of some exposition on the distrust that the two have of each other. Yeah. And in the background, there's like this big fiery wall. And I was like, oh, Batman blew up the wall that was between them, and now they're talking to each other. But apparently that was just like them thinking or something, because you go to the next page and they're still stuck behind a wall.
Yeah. I'm trying to think back. I think there were pages where some of the pages, the background was showing like the past. So maybe it was when City Hall.
But it was like a big explosion. It looked to me like he'd blown up the wall, and he'd removed the obstacle.
I'm trying to remember what you're talking about, so I'm looking. I'm flipping as fast as I can.
You'll see a fiery thing. There's like a little vault kind of down at the bottom right of it.
Yeah.
But
I think it looks like it's the background of shoot. Yeah, I don't know, man. It does look
I just
weird.
thought it didn't work because it looked like it could have been part of the scene.
Yeah, there's some interesting things going on with color here. That looks like it kind of confuses stuff, because they go back and forth with using like red and blues, which I don't really know why. I don't know what that is. Yeah, no, that definitely could have been handled better. Now that I'm looking back at it.
It looks like maybe he blew it up.
Well, I think I was reading through, and I was so focused on just kind of the story and the narrative that I didn't pay as much attention as I should have to the art. But now that I'm sitting here looking at it, I'm looking at it going, what exactly is going on here? So I'm 100% with you.
It's a little confusing.
Yeah, I mean, because you've got your gray backgrounds of them being underground, and then for whatever reason, I think just to create some type of like intrigue and the actual physical look of it, you've got blue hues that are there, and then you've got red hues that are there. And sometimes the red hues are because you see this huge sack of vile eggs behind Nakano, and then sometimes it's just a red wash. But there's one page where there's red and it streaks and it looks like, motion. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's made it a little bit confusing. I did kind of like the idea that the vile egg breaks, and all of a sudden they're just digging underneath his skin. Yeah. And then Batman, ends up, he's Batman. So he kind of like attaches himself to the ceiling, evades the obstacle, and shoots him with electricity, to kill the vial. Like, that's pretty cool.
I will say, one of the things that this book has done really well is when they lean into horror elements, I feel like this book really succeeds. So if there's any note to give to Maki and Dan Mora and even Bogdanovich when he's on, is, hey, these horror themes that you're toying with, go harder into them. Because you have that one little vile creature that actually digs under Nakano's skin, and you see it start traveling up his arm, and you've got, he's telling Batman what's happening, and you got Batman saying, you have to stop it, cut it off. And then you see Nakano just squish it, which that can still be problematic. And then all the other eggs start hatching. So you're just like, oh, Jesus, this is about to get bad. And they're on him and they're trying to dig in. And that's when Batman, he doesn't even blow the wall. I think he uses something to pull the rocks out, which he knows is a risk of. Yeah. But then he sees water there. So he's like, I got to electrocute him. Which he does. He electrocutes Nakano to kill all the vile creatures, but he
might have killed Nakano. That's the big cliffhanger.
He might have killed Nakano. And, honestly, if I don't.
He did. That would be interesting for the story.
It would be super interesting, because then he really did kill the mayor.
Had to leave the city.
Yeah, it's like, it's one of those. Well, hey, he's leaving soon, so who knows? But no, if he ends up killing Nakano trying to save him, that's a plot line that I would be interested in reading, because it could go some interesting directions.
I wish they had gotten out of the cave by the submerged part of Gotham, whatever, the catacombs of Gotham, and gotten out of there, because it feels like, hey, that's a long time.
We've been here for a while.
Yeah. But we did get that cliffhanger. Is he dead? And we also got the cliffhanger where all the vile eggs are being spilled out onto the streets. There's a little puppy there. I'm assuming that puppy's going to get infected.
Not cool. The puppy.
Yeah, the dog's getting it.
No, they're screwed. There's going to be some. Well, they could be dead, but I doubt they're dead. They're going to come back and infect some people, and we're going to have a big problem on our hands.
Don't like the pacing. I do feel like there's some inconsistencies with the stories. I'm not going to blame that one on Mariko Tamaki. It's crossed the line.
Yeah.
Kate Kane's supposed to be looking for the seer. Who was Barbara Gordon's supposed to be going out looking for the seer. They're doing anything but that. I'm not gonna blame that on the creator, but I'll recommend this one. It looks fantastic. There's a little bit of confusion here and there, but it's a welcome change from Batman. I just think it's superior in what it's doing with Fear State and more enjoyable.
Yeah, I would read this any day over the main Batman title. So, and again, like I've said before, I wish they would just let Tamaki tell this story and say, this vile thing happened before Fear State and just let it go, let it run.
Yeah, because we're getting a Detective Comics event as soon as this is over anyway.
Yep.
So
yeah, we'll see if that's constructed a little bit better. I will say Tamaki seems to be a little bit better in constructing a plot. So I'm hoping for the best.
Now, the last book we're going to talk about is Robin, Joshua Williamson, Gleb Melnikov. We are into the final four of the tournament. We know Damian had the Book of Lazarus as Respawn was after him, and we pick up right there. And we get the big reveal that we kind of already knew because it was spoiled in the solicitations, that Mother Soul is, in fact, the mother of Ra's al Ghul and great-grandmother of Damian. And I guess the island is kind of alive because the Lazarus pit is seeped into it. There's a creature that needs to feed on life. That's why feeds on violence and death. And that's why they have this big tournament going on. It's kind of paint by numbers, kind of comic book stuff.
Yeah, I still think it's one of the more fun books on the stand. As far as enjoyment and entertainment, I liked it over the other previous two books for sure. But yeah, it was very much a paint by numbers. I do enjoy the dynamic of Damian with Ravager, Hawk, and Flatline. We've said this before. I would love to see more of them. And they're still teasing Respawn, that there's something going on with Respawn. So where
you almost see the face, and this you can't see the face. You can see the hair looks very similar to Rose.
Yep. Yes. So I think there'll be some stuff there. There was we've already had a tease that Deathstroke had a kid with Talia, and they thought it was Damian, then that was a fake out. So I'm wondering if they're going to try to pick that idea up and run with it, and this is the kid. We'll see. But yeah, I think the whole Mother Soul being Damian's grandmother, it's a little too on the nose. It's back to this whole, like, you have a sister you never knew about for 80 years. It's back to that same type of aspect. And I think it makes the family line a little too convoluted in the fact that Ra's al Ghul, of all people, his mother has still been around this entire time, but we've never heard of her. And she's never made a play to either stop him or overrule him. It just seems odd.
And she isn't even a part of the lore as far as the Al Ghul Lazarus legacy that you've ever heard of. And it's the Al Ghul family vine.
Yeah,
everything's intertwined, right?
Yeah, for me, that was my least favorite part of this book, but I'm hoping it's just here for the story and kind of like fades off.
For people that were disappointed with Damian getting waxed so quickly by Flatline in the very opening issue or two, it's one of those. Yeah. The first time they come into contact, she rips his heart out and basically shows it to him before he dies. And they have another fight because we're in the final four. They're paired up. She tries to do it to him again. He puts up a bigger fight. She's about to do it. And it turns out he's learned a thing or two. We did see him go off and train with his grandfather and whatnot. And he blocks it and he ends up essentially killing her. Or did he? Because it looks like he's holding her pulse and he starts feeling a thump.
Yeah. She still has an extra death left. So he did beat her in the tournament and he did kill her then, and her heart stops. And I think what he was doing was making sure that they would restart her heart. Because of him revealing, like, I know what you're really doing and I'm going to stop you. So I think part of him just, being Batman's son and not trusting people was like, because you know what I'm doing here now, I want to make sure that you bring her back to life. And then Mother Soul even says, like, becoming friends here is she pretty much says it's a a flaw of making friends with people here. So I think that's her way of saying, like, I'm not going to hurt you by hurting her yet, but just wait. So curious to see where that goes.
And then, the big cliffhanger here was Connor Hawk, who was dispatched of Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Ravager and David are in the finals. It's them two fighting to see who's going to be. There's going to be a catch to this, right? They're just not going to let you be alive forever.
Yeah, there's got to be some type of catch somewhere. It has to be. If there's not, it's going to be really weird. I think it's pretty safe to say there is one.
Anytime you make a deal with the devil, it always right?
That's the truth. I wish we would have seen a little more of the Connor and Ravager fight, because I think it would have been a little entertaining. But I get what they teased it in a way to make it sound like Ravager actually won, and then you flip the page and it was Connor. I don't really know what Williamson's goal is here. I hope he sticks the landing, at least with this arc.
I think he's just trying to play out his Mortal Kombat tournament from when he was a kid, using
probably
Robin.
Yeah, I honestly, I could have used another 2 issues just to see more fights. I would not have complained, but so far it's been entertaining. I feel like Connor has a moral compass on him, and based on the previous issue when they all kind of met up and talked, I'm actually wondering if they had somewhat of a plan in place, because the others were aware that there's something different going on here, and we're kind of all being hoodwinked. So I think this next issue, we might actually get like a flashback scene of like they come up with a plan to try to get themselves over Mother Soul. So we'll see if that's how it unfolds.
A much better week in Batman. I personally am recommending Robin. It's not a highly recommend. Like, it was a good issue, but it wasn't as good as some of the past ones. But definitely, if you've been reading Robin, go check that one out. You're going to enjoy it. And the only one I have no idea on Fortnite. Otherwise, I would recommend all 3 of them, and definitely with an emphasis on the Long Halloween special.
An emphasis?
Yes.
Put the wrong syllable on the wrong emphasis. For me, it's the Long Halloween all the way. And if you've been reading Robin, like it's still, even though it's a step down a little bit, it's still a solid and entertaining read. So those are my 2 picks for sure. Detective Comics, I mean, I guess if you have to read something Fear State, it might as well be Detective Comics.
Absolutely. So I want to say thank you very much to Josh for showing up today and talking about some Batman. Inevitably, in 15 minutes, there will be big Batman news drop, and maybe we'll cover it next week.
Maybe. Oh, yep. We'll see.
Later, brother.
Later, man.